A reminder now that the meeting has been recorded and it's going to be made available on the court's website following. Are you all familiar with the protocols? So I won't save time. We're on to item 1 in the minute. The minutes of on the agenda. Sorry, it's a minute of the meeting on 27th of November 2020. That's what I've do. Sorry, Councillor Chair,
I would like to declare that this
okay, yeah, I was actually going to come down and see declarations of interest, but you can stay in the chamber if you want to. So the minutes for approval. Mr. Gordon Murray.
Chair, good morning. The audio in the chamber is very low. I'm really struggling to hear it. I don't know if there's any possible way of upping the volume a wee bit, because it's very difficult to hear the contributions from the members.
Thanks, I'll ask my colleagues.
I'll leave the meeting and rejoin and see if that helps.
We're going to leave the meeting and join up again to see that and make it clearer, Councillor Murray.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks.
The same yesterday.
that any better now?
I think the problem was the chamber rather than yourself. But if you can get the members to speak into the mics, that might help as well. It's just a bit difficult to hear the contributions. Thanks.
Back to the minute for the minute of the meeting of the 12th December 2024, again for approval. Now on to item number 3, declarations of interest. Members are asked to declare any interest they have in the item on the agenda. It would be helpful for members to express why they declare an interest in the item concerned. Members from the chamber, please do so now by pressing your microphone on or remotely through Teams by using the raise hand function. Please ensure that any declaration is repeated prior to the relevant item in the table. Councillor McNeil's declaration of interest, and I think Councillor Robertson.
Yes, Chair, I'm not a member of the committee, but just
Staying as well. Any other declarations of interest? We move now on to item 4, it's the Audit and Scrutiny report. This report seeks to provide an overview of the annual audit plan. I'm pleased to welcome Claire Gardner from Audit and Scrutiny as the appointed to the Accounts Commission as external auditor of the Comhairle for the period from 23-24 and 26-27. 23-24 financial year is the first full year appointment. Welcome Claire to the meeting, and actually happy to fill your report. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to be able to present the final annual audit plan for the 23-24 audit, and this will be my first year as appointed auditor, and I am looking forward to working with everyone. I'll just draw out a few areas from the plan for members' attention. So the first thing is in in Exhibit 1, we highlight materiality. And this year we base our conclusions on a £4.2 million level, and this means that anything above that level will need changed or will impact our audit opinion. I've also highlighted here that our reporting threshold is 0.1 million, and this is the level at which we will report any issues to members. In Exhibit 2, we highlight our significant risks of material misstatement to the financial statements. Unsurprisingly, the first risk in there is the impact of the cyber attack on the accounting records. And this risk really recognises that from November 2023, there wasn't a ledger in place. And also that accounting records prior to that date had been lost. The second risk is in relation to management override of control. That's a standard risk that will feature in all of our audit plans and all the audit plans of any commercial organisation. It's set out by audit standards and is a requirement for us to include it and do some work to address it. In a slight change from prior year, auditing standards also presume there is a risk of fraud over income recognition and expenditure recognition. In previous years, we have rebutted this risk. However, looking at the impact of the cyber attack, we revisited these risks and concluded that fees, charges and other service income and other service expenses would be more susceptible to fraud due to the reliance on manual controls and manual records. And therefore, we've included that as a significant risk this year, whereas it wouldn't have been in prior years. The final significant risk we highlight is in relation to estimation of valuation of land and buildings. And that really just recognises that there's a significant amount of judgment in creating the values and estimation, and any change in the assumptions can result in a material misstatement in the accounts. We also highlight other areas of audit focus. These are areas where they're not a significant risk of material misstatement, but we do additional audit work in these areas, and they include pension valuation this year. And much like the asset valuations, it just recognises that there's a significant amount of estimation and judgment when creating the value of the asset or liability. We've also highlighted in this section that there is a change to accounting standards upcoming. So for next year, IFRS 16 will be implemented, and this changes the way the Comhairle accounts for operating leases. There's nothing that will impact this year's accounts, but we will do some work with the council to establish their preparedness for next year. But then move on to wider scope, we've highlighted 2 risks in this section. The first one is the response to the cyber attack, and we'll do some work just looking at the governance arrangements around that and how the Comhairle coped with the loss of data. The other risk is in relation to financial sustainability, and that is fairly consistent with other councils across Scotland. Best value this year was on the theme of workforce and innovation, and we brought that report to the committee in November. So that work has already been concluded. With relation to the controller of audit reports, they were planned to be based on the 23-24 audit, but this may move as a result of the cyber attack, and I will keep the committee updated with any movement in that area. The final section just to draw out is the timetable. So it's just to highlight that we plan on concluding the work on the 23-24 audit in the June audit committee. We will work to try and pull that forward as much as we can, but we don't underestimate the challenge of this year's audit as a result of the cyber attack. So we will need to be flexible with dates, but that is the date we're currently working to. And the final thing just to highlight is the fee, which has increased to 276,000 this year. I appreciate that an increase in the fee is unwelcome at any stage of the audit, but we have set out the reasons for the increase, and it is predominantly due to the cyber attack. Some of the reasons include increase in sample sizes, an increase in the skill mix. We need to get a peer review from another director to come in and look at it, and we also have to have a moderation panel for any qualified opinion. That was all I wanted to highlight, so thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Claire, and we do look forward to working with you now. Before I open up for questions, I'm just going to challenge the audit fee, because I do it every time. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. The 10% increase more or less every year in the local authority. It's a very high cost. We're up to £276,580 per year, an increase of 26,910. I would like to ask a bit more on your second point at item 42 there, where you say increased seniority within the audit team. Have we been penalised as a shortage of staff previously within the audit team? Because I think it was highlighted by your predecessor that there was shortages in your team up to now. So that's just my own observation, my own point, which I'd like clarification before I open up for questions.
No, so what's happened is because of the cyber attack, we have realised that we need additional skills, and we have increased the number of qualified staff on the team. So there is a higher skill mix on the team that is currently working on the audit than we would see on any other council across Scotland. So it's not a penalisation. If the cyber attack hadn't happened, we wouldn't have put the same people on the audit. We have definitely increased the skill mix.
Okay, thanks for that. Just on how you think event can be done and lower that cost as well. Members, any questions for Claire on that report? Sorry, Councillor Colin McLean.
It's a general question we choose to Claire. In the report and in other, there is always the term risk because of the cyber attack. But see that coming up on the other terms in the working towards re-establishing working towards. But I was called pre-November 23. Where are we in regards to the cyber attack? Are we going to be using the same terms in next year or thereafter? Can we say that nearly 2 years since the cyber attack, 2023, mid 2025, certainly 1.5. When will we get to the stage where we can say we've re-established all, instead of working towards re-establishing, that we've re-established? I know all the officers are doing their best in the situation that they find themselves in, and I find that speaking to officers, it's a frustrating time, I know that. But surely there is some time in the future which we can say we have established rather than re-establishing. And instead of feeling risk continuously, the risk is because of the cyber attack. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor McLean. Yeah, that's a valid point. I mean, we're coming out of it now, thankfully, and there is a report later on the cyber attack on this committee. I'm not sure, Claire, do you want to come in on that, Claire? I see your hands up. Then I'll ask the Chief Executive then to comment after you, Claire.
Yeah, I can certainly come in from an audit perspective. So depending on the qualification on the accounts this year, there is guidance that generally anticipates. So where a disclaimer opinion has been issued, so that is where we have said we can't rely on anything in the financial statements because the impact is so pervasive. It generally takes 3 years to come out of that. So to get an unqualified opinion, again, that is the timescales that we generally look at. Obviously, if we can mitigate the impact and issue limitation of scope over certain areas of the accounts, that might reduce the timescale. But worst case scenario, when a complete disclaimer is issued, it is generally around 3 years, and that's the sort of audit timescale. That obviously doesn't answer the question from the perspective of the council and the general activities, but just from an audit perspective, that is what we'd be looking at.
Thank you, Claire. And that's what you were saying there.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think it's a very complicated question to say when will everything be back. I mean, we're working to a project plan, and the best summary of it, which will probably be updated at the next Policy and Resources Committee, was given at Policy and Resources Committee in September last year, which referred to the recovery processes, the project. There's a report later on this agenda which covers some of these points, and even that will be out of date because it's an ongoing process. I agree with our new auditor, and I look forward to discussing matters with her in due course. When there is a modified opinion, that will likely last for a year or two. But we're in a process, but some of that data is not available. It won't be available, and that so it's a recovery process, but it's not a reboot, as it were, to what we had before. But the report that the Policy and Resources Committee looked at in September was a very good summary of where we were then, and I suspect there'll be a report to the April series about where we are now.
Wanted to say that, but on from finance.
Right, thank you, Chair. So just an update on where we are with the the financial management system. So we've got that operational now. So in terms of 24-25 data and the preparation of the 24-25 accounts, we have all the data available. It's all on the system. So it'll be, from that point of view, it'll be back to normal service. But I appreciate that the carry forward balances from this current year will obviously impact on the audit opinion. So, but we are in a position where we'll be able to just complete this year's accounts as normal.
Thank you, Pat. A lot of people working here and team there as well. You get that too. It's good to know that. Councillor Gordon-Murray.
Thank you, Chair. That's excellent to hear from Mr. Norman MacDonald about that, and I think his staff did to be praised highly for getting the house in order for the next set of accounts. Then can I ask the auditor, would that mean that the audit price would reduce the next time, given that the accounts would be in a order that would be easier to audit, if you know what I mean? Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Murray. Good to see you on the same page as me on this one. Claire?
So I don't anticipate them being able to drop in the 24-25 accounts because a lot of the accounting records were still manual in years. So although the ledger has now been rebuilt, there were still manual processes from April to November that year. But I would anticipate the 25-26 audit fee would be able to reduce back down to sort of normal levels. So unfortunately, not for next year, but for the year after. Sorry, I can't give better news on that front.
That's clear. We have minutes of that, but it will decrease. Thank you. I've not seen any other members with questions. Any more questions on this? So the members are keen to note what is going on the report. Yeah, thank you. Before we move on, can I ask all members online, are you getting us clearer now, or is there an issue? Can anyone see it's Councillor Murray? Is it better?
I think it's a lot better, but I think when we hear from contributions from the chamber, it's a little bit it's cutting out a wee bit. But if members could, you know,
I've asked maybe a member in the chamber just to say a few words to see if it's any clearer. If not, we can take a 2-minute break and close the system down. And if you want to stay online, we'll come back on again if it makes any difference. Councillor McLean, do you want to say just a few words or something just to see if it's any clearer?
Do I have to start shouting with the councillor money? Singing.
Does anyone want to sing a song before we Is that better?
I think it's a lot better. I think it helps. Councillor McLean's diction is perfect. So yeah, that's good.
That's nice to see that I'm improving in some things. At least it is because I do this always a cursive in my mouth. Maybe I should put it a bit further.
No comment.
We'll just leave things as they are then just now. If anyone does have any issues online, please let us know and we'll look at that for you. Okay. So we move on now to item 5, service improvement. This is the public performance reporting 25-28 to direction 24. This report by the Chief Executive seeks to provide an overview of the Corner's public performance reporting obligations following the publication of the Accounts Commission's new direction in December 24. And Fiona and Apis are able to speak to the report and answer any questions. Fiona. Morning.
So Direction 2024 is issued under the Local Government Act 1992 and requires councils to publish information that facilitates performance comparisons and feeds into best value audit work. It aims to help councils demonstrate how they are improving local outcomes with community planning partners, and the Accounts Commission emphasises the importance of clear, balanced and effective public performance reporting by councils, especially during challenging times. It highlights the need for transparency and public engagement in decision-making processes. The direction supports a sector-led approach to benchmarking and improvement using the local government benchmarking framework and other appropriate measures for benchmarking and continuous improvement. In comparison to Direction 2021, there are now 4 key requirements for councils rather than 2, and these are across using resources effectively, working with partners and communities, financial sustainability and budget transparency, and use of data and assessments. Direction 2024 is for the 3-year period from the 1st of April 2025, and complying with the SPI direction is fundamental to the Comhairle fulfilling their duty to secure best value. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Fiona. And you know, it is a good document, a good report, and I believe this has been welcomed by Solis as well. So it's all good work. Thank you. Do members have any questions for Fiona? No. Okay. Members agree the recommendation 3.1. Thank you. We move now on to item number 6, is Equality Outcomes and Mainstreaming Report 2025-29. This report seeks approval on the refreshed equality outcomes to be adopted by the Comhairle for the period 25-29. And I'm pleased to say that Joanna Morrison is present today and is going to be able to speak to the report and answer any questions. Joanna, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. The Equality Act 2010 consolidates previous discrimination laws and introduces a public sector equality duty, which requires public bodies to eliminate discrimination, advance equality of opportunity, and foster good relations. The Equality Outcomes and Mainstreaming Report 2025-29, which is required to be published by 30th of April, outlines the Comhairle's commitment to promoting equality and diversity in the Outer Hebrides and highlights the Comhairle's aim to retain and increase the population of the Outer Hebrides. It should be noted that this is not a performance report. The biennial progress report is to be published by 30th of April. The report also highlights challenges such as the rising cost of living and the transportation infrastructure issues, in addition to population decline and an aging workforce. It outlines 5 key equality outcomes aimed at improving life chances by eliminating discrimination, advancing equality, and fostering good relations. These outcomes are supported by specific actions and measures to be taken by the Comhairle. The equality outcomes are intended to be strategic and provide a degree of flexibility in achieving them over the next 4 years as local and national priorities, legislation, and budgets continue to change. For instance, both the Outer Hebrides Local Outcome Improvement Plan and the Corporate Strategy are due to be reviewed by 2027, and the equality outcomes will therefore be reviewed to ensure they are aligned to the new LOIP and Corporate Strategy and updated as required. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Joanna, and welcome to your first Audit Committee meeting.
Thank you.
Members, any questions for Joanna? Councillor Mustafa Hussain?
Yes, thanks, Joanna. Just a clarification, I think it's maybe Joanna or somebody else. How many, if any, challenges we have or complaint have we had in the last few years under the Equality Act?
Thank you, Chair. I would need to double check and I will get back to you, but just thinking about it, I can't think of any, but I will clarify and double check and get back.
Thank you for that, Ms. Skinner. Councillor Gordon Murray online.
Thank you very
Councillor
much,
Murray.
Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. And I'd like to thank the officer for the report. I think it's very, very interesting and important and a good report. And it probably deserves more analysis than we can give it as an item agenda on a committee. But there was one thing that struck me, and I just want a bit of clarification. It says that 77% of council employees are female. Is that correct?
I think Ms. Skinner come back in again.
Yes, Chair, that's correct.
So my follow-up is that 50.4% of the island's population is female, 50.4, and we've got 77% of employees as females. Would that not seems to be quite an imbalance? And I don't know, I cannot see anything in the action plans to try and balance it out. Does this statistic really require any intervention, given that it's quite an imbalance compared to the makeup of male and female in the Hebrides?
Yeah. I'd ask Ms. Skinner to come back. Councillor Murray, Ms. Skinner.
Thank you, Chair. We do look at our equalities information through recruitment, so we do keep track of this.
Yeah. Councillor Murray, happy with that?
I'm not sure. It's not worthy of any intervention. Is there any key areas where the imbalance is more that there would require to be some sort of promotion to get males into a certain department, etc.? No.
I'll ask the Chief Executive maybe to answer now. Councillor Murray, Chief Executive.
I don't think that it requires any intervention because I imagine it is the statistic reflects the fact, and this makes us unusual among local authorities, that we don't outsource any of our services such as social care in particular, or catering or cleaning, most of which will historically have an overwhelmingly female workforce. So because we deliver everything directly, that probably explains the imbalance in the overall figures. That's not a scientific comment, but I'm pretty sure that will be the case, and my colleagues at the back are nodding.
Thank you for that clarification, Chief Executive. Thank you. Councillor Murray, do you want to come back?
Sure, I'm not sure that clarifies for me. I'm just looking at it in terms of, education, especially primary education, where there's a huge imbalance of female teachers there. And obviously there's probably societal consequences to that. I just wondered, I was surprised that there was no plan to look at, a far more balanced approach in that area. I'm surprised.
I'll just ask Ms Skinner to come in again, just finally on this one. Norma?
We have a fair and transparent recruitment process, which doesn't detail the gender through the application process. And other than that, you know, we can't positively discriminate towards men or women. We look at the equality aspects of who is applying for the posts if they complete the equality information, and that is really where we're at. We can't positively discriminate to try and get more men. But certainly some of the things that we do is we do work with the schools, etc., through DYW to try and make sure that we are promoting our areas of work to all pupils.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Ms Skinner. Thank you. Okay, any other members? No? Councillor Carl McLean?
Thanks for the document. It's very enlightening, by the way. But what's more enlightening is the demographics, and this has come up time and time again with the demographics. In 2024, we have 151 births, and even going back to 2020, that's a decrease of 30. You know, which is significant. And it also mentions that the age, demographically, the age is that we're an aging population. I don't know if there's any statistics for immigration into the islands. I don't know what's here, but that is population. And I'm just saying that I'm not being racist or anything like that, but I was up getting vaccine last week, and and within the place that I was, the waiting room I was out of 7 or 8 of us, I was the only Indigenous person. Now, this vaccine is for more aged people. So I'm just saying that I'm trying not to be racist.
I'd be careful.
But I'm saying to it, what I'm saying to is we've got an immigration into the islands, which generally is for people are retiring. And that's going to have an effect, and it has an effect through the IGIB. I can see this has an effect on social care, and that's why we're left with such a problem with social care. I'm not saying that we should block all immigrants, but I'm not saying that at all. But it's a significant. So I'm just wondering if there are any statistics that we have to show the immigration into the island and the demographics, the age of these. I don't like to call them immigrants, but
I'll ask the team. Joanne, do you have any information on this? Well, I'll just clink a light on somebody. That's it. That's you now.
That's me. I don't have detailed figures about that at the moment, but it is the trend. When you look at the national statistics, that's what it's confirming. If you want, I can have a closer look and see if I can find more detailed information.
Yeah, I think that would be good if you could do that and circulate it through the committee. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other members? Mustafa Hussain? Mustafa, I thought you might come in.
I know my colleague, I don't think he's trying to be racist, but I think we need really to be careful about the language we use in terms of migration. And I think if we're trying to encourage people coming to the island and repopulation, I think we really need to be very sensitive, you know, when we say about immigration to the island and indigenous term. I think it's very, we're heading into Mr. Trump's territory there, but so I think we need to be very careful.
I think we'll close this one down now with that, Mustafa. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. So do members agree the recommendation at 3.1? Agreed, thank you. We're moving on now to item number 7. This is a transformation plan proposals. This report by the Chief Executive seeks approval to progress a plan for transformation projects across the Comhairle. And I'm pleased to say Norma Skinner is able to speak to this report and answer any questions. Norma?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the proposals that we've pull together. This has been to the Budget Board and also PNR yesterday. This is really just seeking approval for the projects in principle at this stage, and full business cases will come back for further scrutiny in due course when all the proposals have been worked through in more detail. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Norman. I think our colleague Claire at Audit Scotland will be pleased to see this report as well, because they have been looking for transformation change over the past few years. And there's been quite a bit of it over the past while. Councillor Gordon Murray.
Thanks, Chair. I really welcome the sentiment of this report, and given that we're obviously running at such a serious deficit every year, we really need some sort of real transformational change for the organisation, especially the digital strategy, which is great. I think that was brought up by the financial analyst a couple of years ago in terms of medium and long-term financial strategy. I had a couple of questions, and I'm glad that there's business cases going to come forward on this, and I hope they'd include a cost-benefit analysis, because we want to know how much we need to fund it, but we also need to know how much we're going to get back in it. You know, it has to make some sort of efficiency and saving. But I had a couple of questions. I wanted to ask firstly about the Artist Trust. Can someone tell me, and probably for new members, what exactly it is doing at the moment, what it costs and what is involved, and what it's involved in at the moment? Has anyone got any information on that?
Possibly Norma at the moment. Ask Norma.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any specific information to hand, but I will come back with that information.
That's fine. Thank you. And Chief Executive.
I can circulate that in the members' update.
Yeah, thank you. I would just add a wee bit on that from my own personal point of view as a councillor in the Lochs area. The Artist Trust has been very beneficial to us and very supportive. We've actually been able to employ somebody through the Artist Trust, which is helping us quite considerably in the ward. So yeah, I must say it is working. But regarding the cost element, Ms. Skinner will get back to you, Councillor Murray, on that. You've got another question?
Yeah, I was going to ask about the community engagement team as well. Just to refresh my own understanding on what their remit is and what projects they've been working on. And the community engagement team, it's a very important role, community engagement. And were they involved in any budget consultations this year? Because I thought that they might be involved in that. It's important to try and get the public involved in these consultations as much as possible. I noticed, I think East Renfrewshire has just had their audit report, and they've been had huge plaudits on how they've interacted with the public on their budget setting process. So was the community engagement team involved in any consultations, or should they be? Or is that within their remit? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. I'll ask the Chief Executive to answer that.
Yes, Chair, that's absolutely within the remit. As a few bullet points on what the team does, it supports the area forums. That's the formal ones and the informal ones. It works, of course, as members know, with Crown Estate funding. But yes, the team organised and minuted and assisted the leader at his meetings around the wards on budget strategy and other corporate strategy. Had there been time for a full budget consultation with communities, they would have organised that as well. And as members are aware, there will be a recommendation in April that we have an engagement over the spring and summer directly with communities on the future strategic and medium-term funding issues for the Comhairle. Some of that will not be easy to hear, and that very much ties into transformation, of course. And the team will likewise organise, minute, and lead that. So there are other things the team does, but those are a few of the main tasks.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Councillor Murray.
Yeah, thanks very much. Can I, just before I go on to my final point, how many people are in the community engagement team? How many?
Chief Executive.
I can't remember offhand, to be honest. There are the regeneration officers, there's the community learning and development team, and the manager, but that information can easily be given, unless someone can give me a figure. And no one can give me an exact figure, but the team comprises these individuals. They're supported, of course, through the communications and the corporate strategy functions. In what they do, there's a mutual support there.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I take you another question, Councillor
Yeah,
Murray.
just my last point on 7.8, which the third is a focus on well-being and the management of sickness absence. And I know from certain discussions that stress plays quite a big part in the sickness absence, which is losing us quite a lot of money. And I know that there's been staff surveys that have been sent out, but I really wish to stress that I think that we should really try and do an independent staff survey, which is not internal. I think this is very important, and I believe Audit Scotland have also recommended that we do this. It's just that we're in a small locality, and sometimes people can't be as candid as they want to be because maybe they'll be recognised or for fear of reprisals. So I think that we should really think about doing independent staff surveys going forward, so we'd have a better picture of what's happening and what can be done to resolve some of these issues.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. I'll ask the Chief Executive to respond.
The staff survey, which the Comhairle approved last year, is now completed, and the results will be brought back to Human Resources Subcommittee and to Policy and Resources Committee, I imagine, at the next series. Ms Skinner's nodding. Both the questions and the format are carefully chosen to avoid any possible identification of individuals, knowing that we have some small sections. That's very rigorously done, and that was done through the supervision of the subcommittee. I'm not aware of any recommendation from Audit Scotland that we engage independent support for carrying out such surveys. And on the good news, I would say once again, the rate of return is very high compared to other local authorities, and that doesn't suggest there's a reticence about staff expressing their views. We'll obviously analyse that per service to see if there are any issues, but that report will come back in its fullness, and it's a big report, and it's got lots of conclusions to draw from it. That will come back to the next series, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Thank you. Okay, any other members? No. Members agree with the recommendation of 3.1. Thank you. Moving on to item number 8, we're into scrutiny now. This reporting concerns at work, annual report 2024. This report by the monitoring officer is for noting and seeks to inform the Comhairle of any concerns at work reported in the calendar year 2024. Now, Mr. Langley is present, but I notice there are no complaints or no reports, so it's a good report. So does any member have any questions for Mr. Langley? No. Sorry, Councillor Conor McLean.
Use your left eye, Chair.
I need to get a cataract operation.
I think you could do with it.
Councillor McLean.
Chair, just a question to Mr. Langley, probably two questions out of here. I noticed that I'm going back to Mustafa's point to me on my vocabulary, but it's the term whistleblowing. You know, if you've got a concern at work, and I've got a concern at work, it's rather a strong term to use, whistleblowing. Would you agree? Whistleblowing seems to say I'm sneaking up on somebody. I'm telling tales on my boss. You know, but concern at work is different. Would you agree,
Mr. Langley?
Whistleblowing is the colloquial word for it. I agree with Councillor McCain. I try and avoid it, hence the title of the report.
That's right.
I just use the word whistleblowing in the report because that's what many people commonly refer to it as. But yes, I agree. And of course, that's the whole reason behind the statutory protection, so that people shouldn't be seen as engaging in any sort of underhand or activity such as he suggests.
Yeah, and I think that could you say that? Sorry, Chair.
Yeah,
second,
there
is could you say that may prohibit staff from voicing concerns in that they will say, "Well, I'm a whistleblower." Would you agree? Because the reason I'm saying that is, Councillor Murray mentioned the statistic in the last paper at 7.8, where the sickness at work is 13.8% and the cost is 2 million. It doesn't bear up to say that there is no concerns in your report. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to marry the two. I'm not criticizing you, Mr. Langley, at all, but I'm just saying that the two don't seem to correlate, in my view. Maybe.
I think the two cover very different things. I mean, my report is concerned with the specific protection that's given in the Employment Rights Act to people who draw attention to what they genuinely believe as malpractice or illegal activity amongst their employer, and we have a policy which I believe is genuinely protects them, as we're obliged to do under the Act, and I've had no indication that people may be deterred from doing it. But I agree, and that is the inherent risk in staff who may wish to draw those issues to the attention of their employer, which indeed is why the protection is there in the first place. So the policy we have does the best we can to protect the rights of employees.
Yeah, because speaking to some of the staff, I'm just speaking to some of them, the reason that they're off work is because of concerns at work. You know, so this is what I'm saying. They're off ill, and you know it, and I know it, and everybody knows that they're off ill because it's concerns at work. And I could almost tell you a few of them, and yet we've got.
I'm not aware of any issues such as Councillor McLean mentions in relation to people who are being off sick. If I understand him correctly, people are being off sick because they have concerns which fall within the subject matter of my report, which they don't feel they can report. If there are any, then I would be very interested to hear of them.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Gordon Murray.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I see this report every year from Mr. Langley, and I can't remember the last time there was a whistleblowing complaint, which is quite, I would say, quite incredible for quite a large organisation, and it goes along the lines of what Councillor McLean is saying. When was the last whistleblowing incident, and what was it? Can you remember?
Mr. Langley. Yeah.
I can't tell you off the top of my head, I'm afraid, but I can certainly come back to you and let you know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Langley, get back to us on that one, Councillor Murray.
Yeah, thanks very much for that.
Any other members? No. Okay. Please note this report. Okay. We now move into internal audit matters. Number 9 on your agenda is internal audit progress for 24-25. This report by Mr. Sandy Gomez, Chief Internal Auditor, summarised the internal audit activity within Comhairle and Siar for the period covering 1st April 2024 to 14th January 2025. The activity has been based on the approved strategic audit plan for the 3 years to 31st March 2026 and the approved operational internal audit plan for 24-25. And Mr. Gomez is able to speak to the report and answer questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Nothing really further to add on this report, except for I'll draw members' attention to 5.2, which is just making reference to the fact that the public sector internal audit standards are now changing to global internal audit standards. So these will have some effect on us, but it's predominantly related to documentation and the charter and things like that. But I will bring an update to a future series to update members on this.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Anyone got any questions from Mr. Gomez on this one? No, not seen any. Okay, members agreed to note the report. We now move into internal audit follow-up reports, follow-up reviews. Item number 10 in your agendas, garage and fleet. This report, again by the Chief Internal Auditor, provides an update on the findings of the original report on garage and fleet trading operation, which was issued on 3rd October 2023. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. And again, Mr. Gomez will speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we gave the garage and fleet trading organisation a bit of time to complete the recommendations, predominantly due to the cyber attack issues that they suffered at the time. There's 6 recommendations fully implemented, progress underway on most of them. There is, you'll note, there's one red one there with insufficient progress, but since we produced this report at the beginning of January, I can now confirm that there's progress now underway on a stock take, which we understand will be completed to support the financial year-end figures. So that's good progress made there. Also, the 3rd recommendation about the vehicle framework for hired-in vehicles. This is just awaiting final approval, and that should be in place shortly as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members, any questions, Mr. Gomez? No. Sorry, Councillor Mackenzie. Yeah, Councillor Ray Mackenzie.
Can I ask, when was the last stock taking?
Mr. Gomez.
The last stock take that supplemented the accounts would have been the year before the cyber attack. So there was nothing done in that year due to the loss of records that they had. So this is them. They've had to re-input all the stock onto the systems, the new system that they have. So that's been underway for the last few months, and they're hoping to, well, it's now almost complete. So they're in a position to be able to undertake the stock take for the end of this financial year.
Okay, happy with that, yeah. Okay. Okay, do members agree to note the report? Okay. Item 11, care at home. This report, again by Mr. Gomez, provides an update on the findings of the original report on care at home, which was issued on 22nd April 2024. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. Mr. Gomez, I'll be able to speak to the report. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. There was only 5 recommendations in the original report, 3 of them now completed. The remaining 2 just relate to training and them updating the training records and the systems there. So we don't have any concerns over the remaining 2. We'll continue to follow them up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members, any questions? No. So, Councillor McLean.
Thanks, Chair. It's a question on 2.5, Mr. Gomez. It's, the action was, again, back to sickness. I don't know, I must have this as my main theme today. I better watch myself. But it's the follow-up sickness reviews for long term. The progress to date. The supervisors are continually liaising with HR colleagues and ensure sickness absence reviews are arranged for staff. I feel that statement is it's not direct enough. If you know what I mean, it's a sort of bland statement, that one. But I wouldn't expect that to come up as a progress, because it's really a sense meaningless. They're only talking to each other, you know. Whereas the sickness habits for long-term sickness habits with in care work, as it's rightly said, has a significant impact. It's not an impact; it's a significant impact on the service and colleagues. But yet, the supervisors are continually liaising. It doesn't seem to me to address the action.
Well, the main reason behind this is that, I mean, there was the management of sickness absence report last year, which covered predominantly the major issues with how they're dealing with the longer term sickness. So for this one, just being at care at home, it is mainly for a correlation to try and bring those 2 together. I understand what you mean. It's more of a general statement that their progress is on this one, but I think it feeds into the longer term aim of the management of sickness absence review, and also with the transformation project that will cover a bit of sickness absence as well. These are all kind of tied together to make some progress.
Do you want to come back, Councillor McLean?
Yeah. So what we're looking for is improvement, and where is the action? None. Why have we not got a time scale there for improvement? For instance, if because at the end of the day, there's an action is required, and rightly so. And you mentioned that. I'm afraid that how we still got that problem is still ongoing, and I'm led to believe it is. But
Gomez.
that's just a comment.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would agree that it's still ongoing, and it will be ongoing for the foreseeable future, I would imagine. It's a case of managing that within the various processes. But yeah, I mean, we can certainly follow it up a bit more to get a bit more comment on it. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
Fill me with optimism.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Gordon Murray.
Thank you, Chair. Just a general question to Mr. Gomez. Do you think the Comhairle has a big problem with stress at the moment?
Gomez.
Don't really think that's probably something within my remit to comment on. It's probably more of an HR question. Certainly when we looked at the management of sickness, absence, stress wasn't the predominant cause of a lot of it, but I'd have to look back to see a bit more information about that, but that would be more
Or
of
maybe
an
ask the
HR
Chief
question.
Executive maybe to assist on this one.
Yes, it's a point, of course, we to which we pay particular attention, and certainly the information, the monitoring which HR subcommittee undertakes, and those are regular reports on causes of sickness absence. It's certainly not out of kilter with any comparable authority, and of course, because people are off with stress, by no means is that all workplace stress. Far from it. There's a lot of it is recorded as personal stress. So stress does not automatically equal workplace stress, but certainly the HR subcommittee monitors the causes of sickness absence on a regular basis, and we haven't identified a particular issue there, unless Ms. Skinner has any further information.
I think she's shaking her head, so okay. Mustafa, Councillor Mustafa Hussain.
Thanks very much. It was just a general question relating to home care in terms of a correlation between obviously the increasing cost in using agency staff and the way we organize, maybe it's an operational thing, the way we organize the care on a day-to-day basis. You know, like sometimes I had examples of people who are full-time working for us, getting paid and having 2 visits a day, one in the morning and spending 6 hours sitting at home. At the same time, we have an agency worker, an agency carer from Glasgow, whatever, getting. So I'm just, is there a way of organizing our care better in a way to save using agency staff, since we have staff, you know, that's one.
Don't know who can, it's an operational, it is operational.
It was just a general question in terms of. So
yeah, it'll be note. Yeah, we'll note that. No, we'll note that. Yeah, we'll note your comments. So
just a
thank
general.
you. Okay, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just, I mean, I'm not saying I've got a view one way or another, but what is the situation of working from home at the present time, you know, vis-a-vis 5 years ago, whatever, and what is the intention and what direction are we going on that, or is it a permanent situation? Have we reached a permanent situation as far as who's working from home or whatever? As I say, I'm not judging one way or another, but I'd like to know what the general trend is.
Yeah. I'll ask the Chief Executive just to a quick comment there, Ms. Mackenzie.
Yes, the working from home is regulated by the policy which the Comhairle approved last year, and that is monitored by corporate management team. It is, of course, within that policy for managers to ensure that the service is being discharged as it should be. And if you need people in the office, then people have to be in the office. But I am mindful that UK government has said very clearly that the forthcoming employment rights bill or act will introduce an absolute right of hybrid working, so that I don't think there is any point in reviewing our own policy until we see what UK government's intentions are. But certainly I'm not hearing general concerns about the hybrid working policy. Those are not coming through from chief officers. They're not coming through from anyone. If there are individual instances of issues, I have on many occasions asked members to bring me examples of these, and none have been received. So it's a matter to be reviewed very frequently. But the policy which we put through last year had general consent among, well, obviously among members, but also among employees and trade unions. So, but we will keep it under review. It's a matter in which you have to make sure that managers are managing that situation appropriately for the service that's expected.
That's fine. Okay, thank you, Chief Executive. Councillor Mackenzie, you want to come back?
Just one point to do with the frontline service. You know, there's a lot of pressure on them, and if they can't get hold of people, I think communication is very important, because you know there's always the possibility that people from the public will phone in expecting to get in touch with a particular officer or whatever, and then the reaction is, you know, obviously the frontline staff try to get hold of somebody and they can't get hold. Now, I don't know if there's a major problem. I know it has happened, and obviously the frontline staff have to be supported on this.
I think we need to be careful. We're straying a wee bit from the topic in front of us here, but I'll ask the Chief Executive to come in.
Sorry, stress has been mentioned.
Yeah, but it's a care at home report, but I'll ask the Chief Executive to maybe answer that point, Councillor Mackenzie.
Yes, we're aware of that, but there's sometimes, I think, a bit of nostalgia sometimes creeps into some of these comments, because anyone who turned up in the past and asked reception to contact somebody, they might be in a meeting, they might be on leave, they might be unavailable. So turning up and expecting a particular person to be available to deal with you was never possible. And the way to do it, of course, is to be in touch and make an appointment if you need to see somebody face to face, and that will be done. It is absolutely for managers to ensure that reception staff have somebody to contact with general inquiries, and if that's not happening, that should be pursued through Mr. MacDonald as the Chief Financial Officer responsible for customer services. But it was never the case where people could turn up and just see people unless they happened to be available, which wasn't always the case. So if you email and make an appointment, then you can absolutely see somebody face to face.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay. Members agreed to note the report. Okay. Item 12 now on your agenda is catering. This again, a report by the Chief Internal Auditor provides an update on the findings of the original report on catering trading organisation, which was issued on 12th March 2024. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. And again, Mr. Gomez will speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, there was only 3 recommendations on this one originally, 2 of which are complete. There's training ongoing on the remaining recommendation. And again, we'll continue to follow this up until it reaches a conclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members, any questions? No. No. Okay. Members agreed to note the report. Thank you. Item 13 is HR core activities. Again, this report by the Chief Internal Auditor provides an update on the findings of the original report on HR core activities, which was issued on 11th January 2024. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. And again, Mr. Gomez is available to speak to the report and answer any questions.
Thanks, Chair. 2 recommendations complete, 2 outstanding. There is significant work being undertaken here, and they are looking to implement the remaining 2, one of which requires a bit of work on systems and processes relating to the FINs, and the other one is just to get through a large volume of work to get contracts of employment out within the correct timescales.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Members, any questions? No. Need to note the report. Thank you. On to item 14 now. It's the Outer Hebrides Community-Led Local Development. Again, this report by Mr Gomez provides an update on the findings of the original report on Outer Hebrides community-led local development, which was issued on 30th April 2024. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. And Mr Gomez again will speak to the report and answer any questions.
Thanks, Chair. There's only 3 recommendations again in this original report, 2 of them completed. The remaining recommendation was about segregation of duties, and as a way of an update, since the report was issued, there was an attempt at recruitment of additional admin support, but it was unsuccessful. So as an interim measure, additional senior management checking will be put in place to assist with the segregation of duties here. So this is largely complete now as well.
Thank you, Mr Gomez. I'm not seeing any members' lights on or any questions. No. Members agreed to note the report then. Thank you. Item 15 is Piers Marine Fuel. Again, this report by Mr Gomez, the Chief Internal Auditor, provides an update on the findings of the original report on Piers Marine Fuel, which was issued on 24th May 2024. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. Mr Gomez will speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. 2 of the 5 recommendations implemented. The remaining ones relate to a lot of guidelines, reissuing of guidelines, risk assessments, etc. There's no concerns on these, but we'll continue to follow them up. So there's still a bit of work to be done.
Thank you, Mr Gomez. Thank you. Members, no questions? I'm not seeing anyone. No. Okay, agreed to note the report. Thank you. We now move into completed reviews by internal audit. Item 16, the first one, which is community planning and engagement. This report has been prepared following an internal audit review of community engagement through community planning OHCPP as part of the operational annual internal audit plan for 24-25. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the CONUS arrangements for the operation and management of community planning and community engagement. And Chrissy McCauley from the internal audit team will speak to the report and answer any questions. Ms. McCauley.
Thank you, Chair. If I can refer members to 1.3 on page 2, the most significant issues coming out of the review was that we identified that there needs to be a total overhaul of the LOIP to be undertaken by the OHCPP membership and brought up to date to reflect more current developments, realistic and more achievable outcomes to be agreed and progressed. We can also confirm that a review of the OHCPP was undertaken in May 23 by the Chief Executive and submitted to the OHCPP a report with recommendations for approval, mirroring similar findings undertaken by internal audit. And the findings, implications and the management comments are throughout the body of the report. We've had responsible officers and targets of implementation, and this report will also go to members of the executive group and the OHCPP, and this is appended at the back of the report. So they will all be aware of our findings and what is required going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you very much. Do members have any questions for this report? No, not seen anyone. Okay, thank you. Members agreed to note the report. Thank you. We move on now to item 17, financial assessments. This report has been prepared following an internal audit review of financial assessments as part of the operational annual internal audit plan for 24-25. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the CONUS arrangements for the operation and management of financial assessments. And again, Chrissy McCauley from the internal audit team is available to speak to the report and answer any questions. And we've also got Jennifer McLeod from the revenues team who's present as well, who will ask to give a few comments after Ms. McCauley. Chrissy.
Thank you, Chair. If I can get members again to look at 1.3 on page 2, the main recommendations are contained in the body of the report, but the main one we have is that the national settlement figure has not been provided at the beginning of the 2024-25 year, and this is delaying invoicing being prepared for the independent care homes. The lateness of invoices being prepared, will have an effect on the team as a whole. And also the areas of good practice we identified, the staff to be commended on how the assessments and billing processes continued to reasonably ensure that invoices and payments are being managed. and identifying, you know, deprivation of assets having occurred and things like that. They have really done, you know, a sterling job. And the remaining one recommendation I have is a low risk, but really they've done a lot of hard work.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christiane. I'll ask Jennifer now to come in. The area that does stand out of concern is obviously the 60-odd assessments that we haven't been able to complete, which is a concern. So probably you could, I know it's out with our control, but you could explain to the committee a bit more, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So at the time of the report, we did have a few assessments to complete. The impact of the independent care homes not having had their rates set is quite significant on the staff. So we're not able to do financial assessments on cases where people have passed away at this moment in time until the rates are set for the care homes. By way of an update, any delays, I would say at the moment we're very much up to date. Anything that we're waiting on processing is usually due to documentation coming in from customers or from their representatives. Everything's in progress at the moment, and any of the deceased cases that we're dealing with, it's because we're waiting for executor details or information from the families, but there is no backlog on processing at the moment.
Thank you. That's really good to hear that, Jennifer. Thanks to the team. Councillor Colin McLean.
Yeah, I take it Ms. Macaulay mentions in 1.3. It's to do with the independent care homes, and then the recommendation then is that the management of the independent care homes, the senior officers of the council of the Comhairle must come. That's absolutely so, and my understanding from speaking to the independent care homes is that this has been outstanding for a fair amount of time.
We may have to go into private, Councillor McLean. We're going into.
Well, it's specific. Just that it's actually mentioned here in public.
Yes, but if we go into further detail about the arrangements with the.
I'm just going to. Is it appropriate then to ask the time that this has been going on for?
Absolutely, yeah. The time's fine. Yeah, that's a general overview. Chrissy, are you able to?
Sorry, Mr. McLean, I didn't catch that.
Yes, you say that there's been a discussion between the management of the independent care homes and senior officers regarding the uplift. The problem is because of the uplift.
The uplift. This would have started prior to the end of last year.
That is prior to April.
Last April, yes.
That's right. That's 2024.
Jennifer, yeah. No. Colin, can be the light off. Yeah. Thank you. You know, Jennifer.
Sorry, thank you. So I believe the discussions would have started prior to last year. They were waiting on the national nursing care home rate to be set first. So that was waiting on the nurses' pay negotiations. So once that was set, that came through in October time, the national nursing homes rate was agreed. So at the moment, local negotiations are now going on with these care homes affected. So it's Bethesda and the Leverburgh care home. There are negotiations ongoing with regards to the rate following that being set in October. I believe there's a report going to the IJB this month. Okay. I've been informed.
So you'll get that report at the IJB, Mr. McLean,
yeah. I leave it till the independent report, and as you say, the rest is probably confidential in regards to, but it is imperative for everybody that we come to an agreement, because it's going on for far, far too long.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that, Councillor McLean, and I think Jennifer and the team are working hard to resolve it, and internal audits are looking onto it as well.
I go to
Okay, any other members got any questions on this one? Observations? No. Okay, members agree to note the report. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for attending today. Thank you. Moving on now to item number 18, Museums and Archives. This report has been prepared following an internal audit review of the Museum and Archives as part of the operational annual internal audit plan for 24-25. The purpose of the report is to provide an overview of the Comhairle's arrangements for the operation and management of the museums and archives. I'll ask Erica Geddes to speak to the report and answer members of any questions, but could I remind officers and members, if we're going to discuss any contractual arrangements or anything to do with contractual arrangements, we will need to go into private. So, Erica first.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work, knowledge and dedication of the staff in this area following on from the cyber attack. Based on the audit work carried out, our overall opinion is that a limited level of assurance can be placed on the control environment of the area. If I could draw members' attention to section 1.3 in the report, I'd like to point out our most significant issues which require management attention are the environmental conditions and the income streams to be looked at to maximise income.
That's great. Thank you, Erica. Thank you. Do members have any questions? Councillor Ray McKenzie.
Thank you. Yeah, well, the first point there is self-apparent after a visit, you know. And the second one, income streams to be looked at to maximize income. Are there some ways that you know, we can, through digitalization, that more could be made on that side, you know, taking in income? Or are we charging enough, or can we charge more, basically?
I'll maybe ask Colin George, as he's with us today, to come in and answer that. Colin George.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of income generation, since starting with the team over 2 years ago, I think they've been doing everything we possibly can that's within their control to improve the whole retail aspect. As members are aware, we started our own shop operation back in June 2023 in order to take advantage of the income that can be made from museum-related items, which had not previously been the case. Again, there's been a lot of additional work for the visitor service manager and the visitor assistant in particular. But we did see last year shop sales, which totaled 38,000 and a profit of 16,000. So there has been improvement. Again, I think I mentioned this at the last Sustainable Development meeting. We recently got external funding for additional shop furniture, which has now been delivered, and we're also expanding the range of goods available to purchase in the museum foyer for the upcoming high season. And we're also, as is mentioned in Erica's report, we are looking at a new updated retail agreement with Together Travel, which would ensure that we'd be the only organisation selling museum-related items on site. So I think that will see things improve as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gordon Murray.
Thank you, Chair. I'm quite astonished that Together Travel are potentially in breach of their retail agreement. It's quite
Councillor Murray, if you're going to go down, we need to go into private if we're going to discuss this.
But no, I'm going to ask a general question. I want to ask,
fine. Okay.
What is the council policy in terms of when a lease is potentially breached?
I'll ask the Chief Executive to come in and answer that, maybe.
On the general point, if the service feels that another party is in breach of a lease, the chief officer, the relevant chief officer, should consult legal services about the position and any future action.
Okay.
Has that been done now? Have we established? I know it says potentially, but have we established if there is a breach or not?
I'll ask Anne Murray, who's present with us, to briefly come in and answer that.
Yes, thank you, Chair. There was a detailed report to Sustainable Development in November regarding our current relationship with Together Travel and some of the actions that we're currently pursuing in relation to that. So I would propose just referring back to that. We've got another meeting with them in March, following on from our meeting in September regarding our arrangements with them.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm pleased that you're moving on with this, and it is progressing well. So that is good. Okay.
Can I ask, Chair, I know that there was an agreement, a decision made that we would invite Together Travel to the Sustainable Development Committee. Has that invite been sent out, and are they going to come to the next Sustainable Development Committee to discuss the lease?
I mean, that's something we would need to check up on, Councillor Murray. It's with this committee, obviously, so I'm not sure what sustainable development. Anne might be able to answer that. Anne?
Yes, the invitation, the request was to ask their Chief Financial Officer. They don't have a Chief Financial Officer, but they have agreed to send an appropriately senior representative to meet with Sustainable Development at the June series.
Fine. Thank you for confirming that. Thank you. Councillor Murray, happy with that?
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, do members agree to note the report then? Thank you. Item 19 now is the follow-up on the internal report on the cyber attack on November 2023 and lessons learned. The report has been prepared for the Comhairle Audit and Scrutiny Committee. The original report advised of 10 recommendations made in the cyber attack response report, which was issued on 23rd October 2024. The follow-up review was undertaken in accordance with the operational annual internal audit plan for 23-24. And Mr. Gomez, Chief Internal Auditor, is going to speak to the report and answer any questions. Mr. Gomez.
Thanks, Chair. Whilst only one of the 10 recommendations is fully implemented, it should be noted that the final report was only issued towards the end of last year, and it should also be stressed that good work is ongoing in the majority of the remainder. There are time-consuming processes to complete, but there is good work underway on the majority. I'm sure Mr. Nicholl could provide more specifics if there are anything. There's 2 recommendations where work is yet to be undertaken, so they are noticeable as red actions on the report, but it's worth pointing out that one of these in particular is only actually relevant at a future point in time if and when the IT manager becomes aware of market offerings or changes in the IT landscape that he may deem as further improvements to the system. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholl, would you like to add any comments at this stage?
Thanks, Chair. To follow on from what Sandy mentioned about one of the red points, change in status when future developments, there's going to be a research done into different security systems that could be implemented. We'll put that together for CMT and Council to consider. Obviously, these additional systems will come with added cost. That's one of the points. That work hasn't been undertaken yet because the main focus is on the operational and the basic security work, which is ongoing. We've had some developments since this original report went out. Since the report went out, we've now gained our PSN compliance accreditation. And just as of this morning, we've received some welcome information from the DWP and our connections into the DWP. I can't go into anything more specific about that. Training for staff, that is going to have a final check. We've had to adjust a few points in the training, and it's going to have a final check, and then it will be released. On the point of business continuity, disaster recovery, and incident response plans, the date that was provided for them to be presented was the end of March, so they're still currently in development. I'm happy to take any questions from anyone regarding the.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholl. I see Councillor Gordon Murray.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I was just wanting clarification on point 2.4 and another question as well on the resilience. So are we saying that our backup has now been moved off-site and is independent of our main system? And the second question I was going to ask was questions relating to the insurance. Have we now got insurance in place that will protect us in terms of costs going forward?
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I'll ask Mr. Nicholl on the first point and possibly the second one.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can confirm that the backups are being stored off-site and are called immutable backups, which means they cannot be altered once they're taken. We also do have an on-premise backup as well. So there's 2 layers, and there's going to be a future, an additional layer to that as well, which will be completely off-net, as it's called, just to give us that third tier of resilience.
Thank you. On the insurance side?
I can't fully answer that. That will be for finance, but I do know that I was asked to provide input to the insurance renewal that was going through specifically about cybersecurity. But again, I think that was more of a side policy rather than a dedicated insurance policy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Nicholl. Mr. Murray?
Just to thank Mr. Nicholl for his answers. I don't know if maybe Mr. Barr or the Chief Financial Officer could answer the insurance question.
I'll ask Mr. Barr if he's able to give an update. Mr. Barr?
No, there's nothing I can add, Chair, to the correspondence which Mr. Murray and I have had on this question, but Mr. MacDonald would have to assist further.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Mr. MacDonald.
There is an insurance policy in place, I know, and has been, but insurance for cover for cyber attacks is a complicated business, as the correspondence has shown. But Mr. MacDonald would be the expert in that regard.
And Mr. MacDonald's is no longer with us in this meeting, Councillor Murray, but it's something that we can bring back to him. You can maybe send an email to him and ask him. Okay. We're not seeing any other members got any questions, or members agree to note the report. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Complain.
I must be late. I must be late in putting this up. That's totally ignoring me all the time. You ever feel that you want to get off this committee? Yeah, it's a comprehensive report. You know, and you would expect that after a cyber attack. You would expect this. And I'm speaking of a person who can just put on this machine and just probably put it off. But that's how IT literate I am. But when you got the report, probably no surprises to you. You knew that a lot was needed to be done. Was there an action plan with priority? In other words, you'd have to do action 1 right away, 2, 3. Was that in your plan, that it was prioritized into what should be done first? Because I go through this and I would say from an outside point of view, this should have been done, or this should be done immediately. But is that the way you're working? A priority on what should be done first, and then towards the end, you're
Mr. Nicholl.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, absolutely. When the incident first happened, the first action that was taken was to build the list of priority systems and how important they were to the COLA's operation. So yeah, I mean, there was about 40 points in an action plan that IT put together, and then the IMT also put together an action plan for all the departments and what systems would be looked at first. Now, with regards to any sort of security enhancements and improvements, we put together a long list of the enhancements that we wanted to put in place. And like on the report in 2.5, I think it is, no, 2.7, that's a point that's sort of showing up as red in the report at the moment, but that's a point that I need to take away and look at additional enhancements that we can add to the network. We focused on the basics first, get the basics right, and yeah, just moved on from there.
Thanks for that. The other question is, I see in the report, Mr. Gomez, in 1.3, you mentioned that you looked into in accordance with the remit. We obtained this assurance through internal audit testing and undertaking discussions with key personnel. So you went through this, you went through all this, and you came up with the recommendations. Are you quite happy? I shouldn't say happy. Are you content? Because happiness is a wee bit too. Are you content with the progress that is being made?
I mean, yes, certainly. I mean, we're going to continue to follow this up at every meeting, so we'll be monitoring the progress pretty closely. I mean, the recommendations are based on our findings and after the discussions with all the personnel involved, members of CMT and IT and everything else. So we're happy with the progress. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. No further. Sorry, Francis Murray.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm not a member of the committee, and it's a really small point, but it confused me when I was reading. In the report at 1.6, it refers to the report only being issued in full on the 23rd of October 2023. It was obviously 2024, and that did bamboozle me slightly, but I know it's just a typo, but I think it's important just to alter that. Thanks.
Thank you for that observation, Councillor Murray. Thank you. Okay, any further questions? No. Thank you. Members are getting note the report. Thank you. We're moving now on to item number 20, which is reports outstanding, and they're all there just for noting, aren't you? So are they noted? Thank you. Before you all go, you know that the next scheduled meeting of the committee will be on 1st May 2025, but I'm going off script a wee bit here. It's something that wasn't, I'm probably going to get shot by somebody for saying something just now, but as the meeting's on the 1st of May 2025, just to make you all aware that we're going to have a member of the team, Chrissy Macaulay, who will not be present then. Chrissy is leaving the establishment before the meeting on that meeting, so I would like to thank Chrissy personally from my own point of view as chair, and also from all committee members for all the hard work, diligence and dedication that you've done over the years, Chrissy. You've been an absolute rock in the audit team for a year. Your work has been very greatly appreciated. So I'd like to all put a round of hand together for Chrissy. Chrissy, I know you want to come in. Do you want to say something, Chrissy? No.
Just thank you for everything. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you.